There was so much news at D23 telling us everything happening with Marvel in the next year. Uh, uh, I'm exhausted just from the list of things that came out. But
Yeah, there's a
what's
barrage of
you
logos and some trailers, but yeah,
a lot of logos and trailers.
logos and
Yeah.
trailers.
Um,
Yeah.
a logo's appeal for those of you who studied rhetoric in college like me. Are what do you what's good? What are we supposed to be excited for?
I don't know, Roland, were you following? I know you're a
I
fan
was
of Marvel.
getting text notifications all the time about it. I was almost getting anxiety from it. Honestly, it was bad because we were talking about it in the group chat. I was getting stuff from like Twitter itself and all this. So there's a lot.
It was like a family emergency. The number of
Yeah,
texts. It's like Disney,
yeah,
chill out.
yeah. I don't know. There's a lot of things that are interesting. I don't want to say that they're bad right off the gate because it might not be, and it's just bad advertising because that does happen. Then again, sometimes you get really good advertising and it's not a good movie.
Yeah.
Um, I guess if we're naming favorites already, we're going ahead and saying it. Uh,
I
I
pretty
don't know.
much know what you're gonna say, right? It's no, go ahead, you say it.
No, you say it. Dan, what's yours? You
Somebody
say it,
say
and
it.
then I'll say it, and then we'll be.
Well, I'm pretty sure mine is not the same as yours. I think the best thing I saw was Secret Invasion, but I know what yours is probably going to be, so I was just gonna like guess, but go ahead.
What is it? Read my mind.
Werewolf by Night.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Werewolf by Night and Secret Invasion. Okay. I have no idea what these things are. Again, I'm not somebody who's super invested in the MCU, besides being somebody who reviews the movies here and there. But it's like, I'd be excited if is that who is that?
That's a poster for Werewolf by Night.
Is that Rami Malek? Who is that?
I
No,
don't.
it's
Who is
not.
that actor
It's
actually?
his name is. Oh gosh, what's his name?
We don't even know.
It's not even in the tweet anywhere. Well, they have Man Thing in there. I saw that.
I
Yeah,
don't know.
Um,
My eyes aren't so
uh,
good.
Gail Gail Garcia Bernal.
Okay.
oh, okay.
So these are like we're now nitpicking and saying like these are the little minor characters that people read in a comic book once in the 1970s and forgot about, and now they get 2.5 hours of my time and $15 of my money, and is I don't know. There's so much, and I don't know any of these people, and none of them stand for anything particularly hopeful. I would love a superhero to give me hope. But what's the story with Werewolf by Night? Why are you excited by this?
I've always been a fan of werewolves. As a kid, I used to go werewolf hunting with my cousin in the woods, but there was
That's
coyotes,
interesting.
so we got
Did you
scared.
get any?
No, there was just coyotes, and it was too scary. So we went back inside. But I've always been interested in them, and I think they're cool. And I watched all the Universal ones, and then I don't know. There's just always been an appeal, and I've always been interested by Werewolf by Night because I always thought it had a really cool design, interesting kind of concept. The main character's name is Jack Russell. If it kind of
Mm.
shows you like what's the vibe, you know. Um, so it's interesting. Right now, what it is basically he gets I don't know captured by some monster hunters, and it's a whole chase thing,
Like
and
the
it's gonna
sticks that they have,
thriller.
like the stun sticks, it feels like those like the maybe the DODC guys, like the Department of Damage Control. Like there's a scene that they
Yeah,
show, right? Like where he's taking people. Oh, there was a severed arm. I'm like, this is black and white. They're hiding some of the gore, which
yeah,
this was a lot more violent than I expected something that's gonna go on Disney Plus to be. That was the
yeah.
surprising thing to me. But
Well,
Chocolate
Disney
syrup
seems to have
everywhere.
sort of thrown out the family-friendly all the time brand, which interesting move being Disney,
Disney.
but yeah, let's see how this plays out for them. It looks cool. I like when people do black and white stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
Andrew,
when
is
they
there
don't have
something
to.
that was catching your eye, even just like a little bit?
From
Oh, there's blood splatter
D23.
here. Oof.
Yeah.
I don't know. No, I mean, I the thing about the barrage of content really says to me that Disney's really trying to win back its audience because they've been in hot water about a lot of different things lately, and they are, like we've just seen, like we just said, they're defying their brand, um, just in an effort to see how many people they can get over to Disney Plus.
Mm.
And really, what this says to me is it communicates an awful lot of insecurity on Disney's part, saying we don't know who we are anymore. What do you want? What do you want? Tell us, please tell us
Interesting.
what you want.
Well, I mean,
Okay.
this is Michael Giacchino's first directorial effort. I mean, on this scale, I think he's done like one or two things before, but he's obviously known as a composer. Like, he composed music for many movies, including, well, probably not his best work, but like Rogue One, a Star Wars project, and then or he did like some of the Star Trek movies. I think he did the Batman. But you don't think of him like a director, but he's directed this, and he said that this one is taking influences from like these 30s and 40s horror sort of vibe. That's what they're going for. And
Yeah.
then, they're treating this with this the whole new, like, it's not your traditional Marvel Studios logo present special presentation thing. And you can tell, I think this is innovative and maybe in a good way, at least based on the
Yeah,
trailer.
I mean,
Could be terrible to
here's
watch,
the
but
thing.
yeah.
It looks very cool. It looks very cool. I just this is again, it's another Stranger Things type of thing where we've stylized it to look exactly like one of those things, and yet if it doesn't deliver on the essence, on the feeling, and even the messaging, if it just looks like it, all we've got really is a new movie, just like every other movie, with a different Instagram filter, a different font.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, okay. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing what it becomes. I mean, it's different than anything that they've put out. So I guess we'll see. But there's other stuff to talk about. Like my favorite thing that they put out was let me
Secret Invasion.
Secret Invasion. Yeah, let me pull this up.
What is? I don't know anything about that. What is Secret Invasion?
Roland, as far as the comic book origins, can you kind of like give us a summary on where that comes from? Like what's the story?
Yeah, Secret Invasion is basically it's to put in simple terms. All right, Skrulls, from Captain Marvel, the shapeshifters.
Hmm.
It was basically this whole story arc of like how they came to Earth and they were like infiltrating and they were like replacing superheroes and nobody knew what was going on, and that's essentially what it was about.
So
And
are they impersonating the superheroes?
they're impersonating, yeah, they're
Yeah.
impersonating them.
Well, we've
And
already seen the Skrulls. Like, for example, was it Spider-Man Far From Home? Like, where Nick
yeah,
Fury,
as Nick Fury.
if we find out, is a Skrull. But, like, since Miss Marvel came out and when they introduced the Skrulls into the MCU, unlike the comics where we know them clearly to be bad guys, they've sort of portrayed them as good guys in the MCU. So people were always like, okay, because we've sort of had the Secret Invasion thing on the horizon for a while, and then obviously the Skrulls being good guys, and how we know the comic book version of them plays out. The question always was, well, are they going to eventually turn them? And it feels like with this trailer, we're finally starting to see maybe the Skrulls weren't the good guys after all. Like, is that? I mean, that's the impression I got. Roland, am I on the right track here? And I mean, Andrew, I don't know if you've watched the trailer. Like, are we?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
trying to find an official summary. All
I mean,
right.
it looks cool. You got Nick Fury coming
Um,
back to Earth for the first time. I think they've mentioned like 3 years. Mariah Hill
no,
talking to him
that's
in a bar. She's like, "You've been sending my calls to voicemail for 3 years," and he's back. Because he's been on that. At the end of that Spider-Man movie, we saw that he was on this like big Skrull spaceship. I think in orbit around Earth, And so, meanwhile, letting Skrulls handle business on Earth. And we even saw in some other Marvel projects, I forget exactly which ones, where we have seen like Skrulls infiltrating and being like taking over government roles, key roles in key agencies and stuff. So now it looks like Nick Fury's back, and the reason he's
So
back is because he believes the Skrulls are up to no good, and you see Rhodey's involved as well. And at the panel, they hinted that Armor Wars, which they officially announced, which we knew they had brought it up that it was going to be happening, but they hadn't officially scheduled it on their calendar before. So now they finally said, it's coming out. Here's a logo, because logos make everything official. And then they talked about it, and they mentioned that Secret Invasion is where Secret Invasion is going to leave off. Armor Wars is going to pick up right directly from that, and that they didn't announce an exact date for when Armor Wars is going to release, but they said 2024, I believe. So to me, that says Secret Invasion is probably not coming out until later in the year of 2020, next year, 2023, and then not that long after, they're going to go into Armor Wars, which will be focused on Don Cheadle and his Rhodey War Machine character. So, and obviously he's in the show. So, and they were shooting a lot of these stuff like back to back or simultaneously, because there was stories out about how Samuel Jackson was going back and forth between the sets for Secret Invasion in Atlanta and the Marvels, which were shooting around the same time. So he's going to be in that too, and Armor Wars. So Marvel obviously.
So these are series, not movies.
These are series. So Armor Wars and Secret Invasion are Disney Plus shows, and then the Marvels is going to be a movie, which they also had a panel for and they obviously had the logo, which is nothing new. We've already seen the logo for that. But yeah, these two are shows on Disney Plus.
Okay. The Disney Plus shows for Marvel do not have a good track record.
Yeah, honestly.
They've got some real talent in these though, and
Ben
Oscar
Mendelsohn,
Isaac,
he's playing.
Oscar Isaac was a great actor. Is a great actor. And yet Moon Knight was not a wonderful show.
I thought it was good until the last episode. That last episode just sort of
I don't know.
Yeah.
It just like we saw that. We've seen the talent that they've brought on for She-Hulk. I would caution actors from like agreeing to do these things at this point, because is that Olivia Colman?
Yep.
Yeah.
Gosh,
Multi-time Academy Award winning Olivia Colman. Yeah.
I mean, you had better show these actors some respect, Disney, and come out with a good product, because these are starting to become risky properties to be part of, unless it's a theatrically released Marvel movie.
Hey,
and even
Emilia
some
Clarke's
of those
in
aren't
this
doing
too.
so wonderfully.
Yeah.
Also, just a side note, was I calling it the Secret War or Secret Invasion?
It's Secret Invasion. Secret Wars is the Avengers movie,
Yeah.
Phase 6. This is Phase 5.
What's the big
Okay.
secret?
So Secret
War is
Invasion's the
a totally
Skrulls.
different thing. And I was freaking myself out. I didn't know if I was saying if I was talking like if I said Secret Invasion. I was in my mind I was talking about Secret Invasion, but I didn't know if I said
Oh, I think
Invasion.
you said okay. No, you said Secret.
Good.
I'm pretty sure
I think
we're
it's
not.
clear.
Yes, Secret Wars and Secret Invasion are two different things, which
I know
in and
that's
of
why I'm
itself
trying to
could be
like
confusing. Yes.
I'm freaking myself out because I know the internet will attack me and be like, hey, Secret War is a different thing. I'm like, I know. Please don't yell at me.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Hey,
look,
hey,
Andrew,
internet,
to address
take it
your
easy on
point.
Roland.
So yeah, I was just gonna say, Andrew, the point you were trying to make, like, I think these actors are doing these roles, like Ethan Hawke, literally months after he said, I don't think I want to do these Marvel things. I don't, those are not creatively satisfying. Or even more recently, Yahya Abdul-Mateen, like, said, like, he basically talked down DC movies and Marvel movies, and those they're not like, I think he said something like, they're not like works of art or something to that effect. He didn't say exactly that, but basically
he
said,
likened it to being like candy. You gotta
yes,
do
Yes.
this.
exactly. Yeah, even though he is in the new Aquaman movie and he's like
Yeah.
going to be the main like villain of that.
Well, that's the thing. He says, "Listen, if you want to do the great stuff, you have to do silly things like this."
Exactly.
And you know what? That's the game. You got to make some money. You got to pander a little bit so that you can do something great. fine. You know, it's a business. It's a business for the actors. It's a business for the studios, and really, as customers, as responsible customers and consumers, it's our job to tell them like this is good, this is bad. What's difficult about streaming and all that is that like they get to fudge the numbers a lot more because they don't have to be transparent about how many people are watching what they're promoting, but they just always have this endless supply of stuff coming out. And you know, box office numbers, as we've seen, those can be a giveaway in terms of how good the movie actually is and whether or not people actually like it. If it never hits the box office, you never have to disclose how much money you made or lost with it.
I mean, I think that nowadays they have to do more of that. I mean, especially once you introduce advertising. Like, I think Disney recently announced they're going to be adding an ad tier to their subscription, like Disney Plus. I think you're going to have to then start disclosing these numbers, because if you're making money off advertising, then that probably ties into actor contracts and like back end deals and
Yeah.
points and stuff and
But
royalties.
even that,
and,
doesn't that also indicate that they're not making enough money on the subscriptions alone? And that not a
Well,
lot of people are watching?
that's always going to be a limitation. I think streaming services know, like, once you hit market saturation, there's no room for growth there. You got to find other ways to do that. And with Disney, a company like Disney, you have merchandising, theme parks, and all that stuff. And like you have Avengers Campus, and at the, you know, there was a Disney World, I think it is, or Disney, the one in California. But
California
I
Adventure,
think in addition to that, now you're
Disneyland.
starting to see things like Netflix charging for sharing passwords with people who don't live in your house, adding, you know, extra cost for that, adding an ad-supported tier, and in a way it could work in their favor, because then you have situations where um, a show that's not drawing subscribers anymore has no value for you if the only way you're making money off the service is through new subscriptions. But if you have
Yeah,
ads playing
but
on there,
between
can.
between ads and charging for sharing passwords, you know, which were the two perks to Netflix for the longest time. No ads, you can share a password. And the content isn't good enough for people to stay when you get rid of all of those perks. And so I think they'll do more to alienate people than, you know, to build more.
I mean, it's a trade-off. I do think if they make it cheap enough, there will be a lot of people who will sign up simply because they want to save money and they don't care about ads. But that aside, I do want to, before we finish talking about Marvel at D23, touch upon what happened, or what the lack thereof, what didn't happen at at D23, which is they announced a director officially for Fantastic Four, which we basically already knew because the reports had been out that Matt Shakman was going to be directing the movie. But what they did not announce is the cast of Fantastic Four, which was heavily rumored that they were going to announce it, and people were even putting out like, oh, Henry Cavill is going to be in it, or Jodie Comer is going to be in it, or what was the guy, Penn Badgley is going to be Mr. Fantastic, and so on and so forth. But
Yeah.
they basically said Matt Shakman's the new director, got nothing more to say about the movie, moving on to the next thing. Like, and that's the big news. That's like the thing of all the things they announced. The Twitter is most concerned about what they didn't announce, and that's, you know, the cast of
Have
the
they
movie.
started filming? Is that all under wraps, or
No.
is it just
I don't think
that they've
so.
announced the
No,
director?
they're in pre-production.
It's still
And
pre-production.
from
They
my
must
perspective,
still be deciding.
it's honestly, it makes sense that this is the case, because if you look at the timeline of events, Matt Shakman dropped out of Star Trek 4 recently to basically sign on to this movie, which means that if the director hadn't been on the movie up until recently, maybe he was in talks to sign on, but he wasn't on the project officially. The director usually has a role to play in the casting process. I mean, Marvel is a machine. These guys will probably be in other projects that the other directors will be involved in. So you could technically cast people before the director signs on, but generally speaking, how movies work is you have the director come in, and then the director works to help cast the movie, if not make the main decisions and get the veto power on it. So I'd imagine that's probably one reason why they haven't picked out a cast yet, because they might even have a short list of options, but until the director is on board and now he or she's looking at how this movie is going to play out, and then they can make a decision based on that vision who to best cast for the role. So I think that probably is the explanation as to why they didn't announce the cast, even if they have a short list of people, and maybe those are the people we have heard rumors are, but they aren't set in stone. But for you guys, I mean, is this like, do you think that is the reason, or do you think there's something else behind why they didn't announce it? They did mention that Kevin Feige said they're going to have the movie featured at next year's D23. Do you think it's a matter of either it's what I just said, or it's a matter of they're saving something for next year so next year doesn't feel so bare?
They're probably saving for the hype, you know. And if not that, then I imagine they're still negotiating and still market testing certain things. Yeah, I think as long as the fans still think they have some control over who gets cast, they're gonna, you know, they still want people debating about who would be the best Mr. Fantastic. So that's my feeling on it.
Dan, I think I agree with you. I think it hasn't been casted yet. I think they have plenty of time to work on this. So I think it's just they're still in talks and negotiation. And I'm excited. This guy, you know, he did all of WandaVision. I enjoyed that show. So we'll see what he does with it.
Yeah. I mean, and his TV credits outside of what he's done for Marvel are extensive too. I think he did Game of Thrones. He's done a ton of other cable and streaming shows as well.
He did like
He's got an
40
extensive
episodes of It's Always Sunny.
credits.
Really?
Yeah. So he's got some comedy background. He's done this and that. A fun fact, he was also a child star. He was in this like sitcom in like the late 80s called it's like The 10 of Us or something. Yeah.
Did not know that.
So he's been a while. He's been here. You know?
Well, maybe that's how we move on to the next thing about
Before we finish up, just one last thing. I mean, they had other stuff like Quantumania, which they said will tie directly into the Kang Dynasty, I think. Yeah, the Kang Dynasty. They had New World Order, the Captain America movie. They brought that out, and you know they announced that Danny Ramirez is going to be the new Falcon. Loki guys came in. They apparently flew right back out to continue shooting the season 2, but they were there. They had the Marvels cast come out, and you know Wakanda Forever was I think the first thing that went up. Daredevil, they brought up Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio, which was fun seeing those two guys out there. They also had the Echo team come out and talk about what they were doing in Ironheart, which they will, you know, Ironheart. They're gonna have the character Riri Williams is going to be in Wakanda Forever. That's where they're gonna introduce the character, like kind of backdoor pilot it. But the other big thing that I wanted to quickly touch upon, we don't have to spend too much time about this, but they announced like the roster for the Thunderbolts movie. So I have a feeling they're like almost like Dark Avengers in a manner of speaking. So they're not gonna have an Avengers movie until 25? So, but this movie is gonna come out, I believe, in 2024. It's starting to film next year. So they announced that you know the new version of Black Widow, Yelena Belova is in there, Red Guardian. You got Ghost on the left, I believe, Taskmaster on the back right, U.S. Agent, the Walker character. You've got the Winter Soldier in there, Sebastian Stan, and then Julia Louis-Dreyfus is going to be like their Nick Fury in the back left there. So
I wouldn't say Dark Avengers because this Thunderbolts was always like a Suicide Squad thing.
Right, you're right. Enough, yeah.
Instead of they have Bucky in there, but in the comics it was always Hawkeye. And they changed that out, but it's pretty much just like
it makes sense. I mean, considering where the MCU's headed, I think it makes sense to make that switch at this point. But yeah. I mean, it looks interesting. I mean, it doesn't tell us anything about the story, but you know, I can't wait to see David Harbour back as Red Guardian. I think he was probably the best part, in my opinion. He was the best part of the Black Widow movie, so I'm excited. And if you've seen the latest Stranger Things season, the guy slimmed out, like the dad bod is gone, like you know. It's like they use that whole Russia storyline simply to like explain how he's in such good shape now. But anyway, he's back as Red Guardian in this. So okay, well, I just wanted to, you know, if you guys had anything to say about that, it seems like there's not a whole lot to go on as so far other than the concept art they show. So.
Yeah, I mean that's what this event is. It's concept art, logos, and you know,
trailers. Couple of
cast teases.
Yeah.
They showed a lot of exclusive footage which we don't get to see. Like I think they showed some Ant-Man footage. They showed some Black Panther Wakanda Forever footage that's not public. But yeah, and I mean, you know, they had the new like Star Wars had their own thing too, Andor trailer, Mandalorian trailer. But that's the Marvel stuff. That's I think that's covers it. That's everything that they announced, and everything they didn't announce. Yeah. So.
Well, tell us what you think you're most excited for. If we missed something, what's the most exciting Marvel thing coming out in the next year? If it's not Secret Wars, Secret Invasions, oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm there too.
I know
Thanks for watching.
it gets confusing.
There's a lot. Yeah. And you know, if you put two different words together, it'll end up being a Marvel movie in 2028. So,
Secret Invasion War.
I'm looking forward to the Secret Dynasty 2028. And, you know,
Avengers
let us know.
versus X-Men. I think that's going to happen.
Any two words, test it with Disney. They'll probably greenlight it. And we look forward to hearing what you have to say about that. But in the meantime, like and subscribe. Follow us on all the things: Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, Twitter, Twitch, Apple Music, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you get a podcast. We're there. We're always going to be there. Don't worry, darling.